is that I'm not even so sure what you're supposed to say by a Sudas Hodaa because I never made one before. Huh? Why not? I should be making a Sudas Hodaa maybe every day. Every day. That we're alive. I'm so appreciative to HaKadosh Baruch Hu that he brought me to this day. Rabbi Binstak, there's a seat. So, if it's okay with everybody, what I would like to do is first, on the tables there's not a lot, but on the tables there's a few siddurim. Anybody that would like to join me, I would like to say nishmas. And after I say nishmas, I would like to tell everybody the nace that happened. I'm imagining that mistama, by saying the nace, that's going to bring about the purpose of the Sudas Hodaa, thanking the Kadosh Baruch Hu. So I'm going to start off by saying nishmas. Anybody that wants to join can join with me. I'm going to say it out loud, b'minyan, because I feel a tremendous amount of akar satoiv HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Okay. You can say it with me word for word. Nishmas kol chai tevorech hashimcho Adonai Eloheinu v'ruach kol boso tefoer u'siroi meim zichecho malkeinu tamid min ha'olam v'yad ha'olam ha'toel u'mibalodecha ein lanu melech goyel u'moshiach poide u'matzil u'mefarnes u'merachem b'chol eis soro v'tzuko ein lanu melech elo oto Elohei harishonim v'acharonim Eloyah kol beriois adon kol telodois hamulo beroi v'atishbochois Haminai goylo moy bechesed uvrioiso verachamim v'adonoi lo yonum v'lo yishon hameorer rishenim והמקץ נרדמים והמסיח אילמים והמתיר אסורים והסומך נויפלים והזויקף כפופים לכל לבדך אנחנו מוידים אילופינו מולי שירו כיום ולשויננו רינו כמוי נלוב וספסויסנו שבח כמרחבי רוקיע ועינינו מאירויץ כשמש וחיו ריח ויודענו פירוסויץ כנשי שמויים ורגלנו קלויס כאיולויס אין אנחנו מספיקים להוידויס לכו אדוני אלוהינו ולהי אביסנו ולבורך השמך על אחס מאלף אלפי אלופים וריבי רבובויס פעמים הטויבוי שעושיסם אביסנו ואימנו ממצרים גאלתנו אדוני אלוהינו מבייס עבודים פדיסונו ברוב זנתנו וסובו קלקלתנו מחרב הצלתנו ומדבר מילתתנו ומחלויים רואים ונאמונן דליסונו עלינו עזורונו רחמך ולעזובונו חסודך ואל תתשנו אדוני אלוהינו לא נצח על כן איבורים שפילגת בנו ברוח ונשמה שנפחת באפינו ולא שוין אשר שמת בפינו הם יוידו ויבורכו וישבחו ויפארו וירוממו ויריצו ויקדישו וימליכו את שמך מלכנו כי כל פה לך יוידה וכל לא שוין לך שישובה וכל ברך לך שיחרה וכל קיימו לפניך תשתחווה וכל לבבויס יראוך וכל קרב וכלא יויס יזמרו לשמך כדבר שכתוב כל עצמו יסייתו עמנו אדוני מיכו מויכו מצילוני מחזוק ממנו ואני והביון מגויזלוי מי ידמלוך ומי ישבלוך ומי יערוך לך האל הגדול הגיבור והנוירו אל עליון כהני שמיים ואורץ נהללך ונשבח ונפארך ונברך השם קדושך כאמור לדוד בורכי נפשי את אדוני וכל קרובי השם קדושי האל בשעת עצמו יסוזך הגדול בכבוד שמך הגיבור לא נצח והנוירו בנוירו יסך המלך היושב על כיסא רום ונישא שויכן עד מרוים וקדוש שמו וחסוב רעננו צדיקים באדוני לישורים נבוס הילו בפי שורים תסהלול ובדברי צדיקים תסבורך ובלשון חסידים תסרימום ובקרב קדושים תסקדוש ובמקר לא ישראל בבויס עמך בית ישראל ברino יסבוע שמך מלכנו בכל דור ודור שכן חויבס כל היצורים לפניך אדוני אלוהינו ולהביסנו להוידויס ולהלל לשבח לפועל לרומם להדר לברך להלל ולקלס על כל דברי שירוי ושבחויס דוד בן ישי עבדך משיחך השתבח שמך לעד מלכנו הואל המלך הגדול והקדוש בשמיים ובארץ כי לך נאה אדוני אלוהינו ולהביסנו שיר ושבחו הלל וזמרו אויז וממשלו נצח גידולו וגבורו תהילו וספארץ קדושו ומלכוס ואחויס ואידויס מהטוב ויד עולם. Okay, first of all, I'm making a little disclaimer over here. This story happened over a certain period of time, so it's going to take time, Pashut, for me to get the story out. Anybody who feels that they don't have enough zitzfleish, I will not feel offended at any time, especially since the camera is only focused on me, so nobody watching this video will ever know who was here and who wasn't, and who leaves in the middle. I could be talking to myself for all that, for that, you know what I'm saying? But anybody who would like to hear the Neflois Haboyre, the tremendous amount of Hakaras HaTov that I feel towards HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and to many other people. My first, even though this is jumping a little bit to the end of the story, I would like to mention it first. Reb Shami Pollack was my first entrance into life again. Free life, exactly. I was locked up in a hospital. I asked actually the Rav before I left if I'm supposed to. I think I asked the Rav before I left if I'm supposed to first make a Baruch Reifei Chaylam or Baruch Mater Asurim, because the hospitals over here are mamish like a jail cell. Baruch Hashem. But I made it out, and Rabbi Pollack was such a simcha, picked me up from the hospital and he brought me home, shortened my stay for about 6 hours. Baruch Hashem, that was a major thing, and I appreciate every single person's help, the Mishpachas Mandelbaum, everything that they did. And Baruch Hashem, what should I say? Tremendous amount of Hakaras HaTov that I have to each and every single person that came over here tonight. I think these are the two people that not to be. Yeah. In Hebrew. I'll speak in English, but I'll tell them the Rama Yitzim. 1 second just. אני עכשיו מדבר באנגלית, בסדר, אני מספר את הסיפור. בסדר? אוקיי, בוא תשב. Anybody who got locked up in a corona war knows that they don't allow, I'm saying recently they switched it, but in most hospitals they don't allow any visitors. And it can get pretty depressing, isolated, klum, nothing. You're stuck in there by yourself. Most of the time, the nurses don't even see you. You're mamish alone, you and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And they can get very lonely sometimes. But there's a few malachim that the hospital allows to come in. A few malachim that the hospital allows to come in. People that had it, and they take up their time and they go and they visit each and every person. And the amount of chiyus that I can tell you that it gave me. So therefore, these choshev malachim that just came in right now, shtei anashim eile higiu kol yom levaker ולהגיד לי שלום ולרומם אותי. ובשביל זה אני חי. בשביל זה אני חי. אני פשוט מרגיש שאני חי בשביל זה. תודה רבה. Exactly. Dvarim hayotzim min halev. I'm going to speak in English, even if not everybody understands. Dvarim hayotzim min halev definitely nichnasim el halev. So let's get down to the story. The day after Yom Kippur, somebody was in my house and had corona. This is where I think that I got it, although it could be from a bunch of different places. And that day I started feeling sick. But listen, every year Sukkot, those that have been close to me Sukkot know that every year Sukkot I get sick. Baruch Hashem, we have a successful Daled Minim business running, and I work very hard. And I usually come down with a pneumonia, bronchitis, something. And I started coughing. And if I could preface it by saying that in the summertime, I also got sick, and I had all the symptoms of corona, and everybody told me, even though I tested for it twice and it came back negative, everyone said you have corona anyways. So I thought, I had corona already, I'm corona free. So I didn't even check it out. I wasn't going to check it out, B'chlal. And then, Lamaisa, the cough was getting worse and worse. And I said to my wife, maybe I should go get it checked out. She's like, no doctor's going to look at you unless you have a negative corona test right now. So I said, okay, fine, if I have to. So being a good Israeli family, on the first day of Chol Hamoed, what did I do? We went on a Chol Hamoed trip. The whole family packed into the car, and we went to go get tested for corona. And the whole family tested. And Baruch Hashem, 3 of us came back positive. Me, my wife, and Shimi. What are we going to do? This is from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So I had corona. So now I know what the coughing was about. And then I had fever, and I was having a little bit they tell you to constantly check your oxygen levels. When I got to the hospital, they told me, what's your oxygen levels? No, first they said to me, you checked your oxygen at home? I said, yeah. How can you check your oxygen at home? I said, I borrowed a machine from somebody to check my oxygen level. Then they said to me, what's your regular oxygen levels on a regular day? I'm like, I don't know, I never check it. What do you want from me? Like, make up your mind. Do you usually have it? You don't usually have it? But I saw that the numbers were a little bit, they were going low, whatever it is. And then at one point, I'm having a very hard time with word retrieval. I apologize, I always say. But the medical procedure in this country now is that they give people blood thinners in order to be able, they shouldn't get blood clots, because they decided corona gives blood clots. So they gave out. So my wife called up the doctor and said, "Could I please take the blood? What should I do?" He said, "Take blood thinners." So I called my mother and I said, "I'm taking blood thinners." "No, are you crazy? You're taking blood thinners at home?" "Mazel. You have to get it checked up, and you have to have it monitored in a hospital. If you're taking blood thinners, Hashem, should it be too thin? It shouldn't be too thick, whatever it does." I said, "It's okay. Don't worry about it. I'll call Seder. You go to the hospital. They lock you in a room. Nobody looks at you. I'll be okay where I am. I'm fine. I'm being taken care of at home. Everything's fine." Anyways, the doctor, his name is Dr. Munter. He, hush of a doctor, and he decided, we were back and forth with him, and we decided that I should, based on, he's going to clear a bed for me. He's in charge of a ward called Keter Hay. Keter Hay in Shari Tzedek. He's in charge of the whole ward. He's clearing a bed for me, and he's going to be the one in charge of my tick. So we called up the Hatzalah guy, and we said to him, Dr. Munter, his name is AJ Rowe, also a Mamash Malach, he also helped us out. And he said to us, if Dr. Munter is masking to be on top of your tick, go to the hospital. Now that wasn't enough for me, because I still wasn't interested in going to the hospital, because I had very bad feelings of what the hospital was going to look like. So we called up Rabbi Summer, and I said, AJ Rowe, Dr. Munter, they're giving me a bed in the hospital, should I go or not? So first Rowe was like, no, don't go. Hospitals are horrible during Corona. And he's right. And I can be made for it. And then he said, okay, I'm going to go find out. He tried calling Rabbi Berkowitz. It didn't work out. He ran to Rabbi Berkowitz's house. He knocked on his door. Rabbi Berkowitz said, if Dr. Munter is taking on the tick, go to the hospital. And Amir Tashem HaKadosh Baruch Hu will help, and everything will be fine. Okay? Well, after that, there's nothing else to do. So, we got the first part of the story, which is calling the ambulance. You call the ambulance, because in this country, the only way to get to a hospital is by ambulance if you have corona-wise. And then, so they put me in the back of the ambulance. It was like closed off the back at the front. And the guy was zooming. I made it from here to Shari Tzedek in under 5 minutes. And the guy was zooming through the streets, and the whole time, he's firing questions at me in the back. Yesh l'cha chom? Ken. Kama. Mas, what's your saturation? What's your oxygen? What's your this? Firing questions at me one after the other. I'm like, yeah, Ken. Lo. Ma. Kitzer. Finally, we get to the hospital. He didn't have that much time to ask me questions. But finally, I got to the hospital, and over there, the security guards waiting by the door. Nobody else was allowed through that entrance at that time. They take me in through a back elevator, which they only use for corona patients. They took me up to the I think it was the 8th floor. I think it was. I don't know because I don't know. And they took me to my room and they said, "Here you are. Have a good night." This was at 11 o'clock at night. They dropped me off in my room, and then I think it was close to 12 o'clock when the first nurse came into my room, and they're like, "Okay, who are you?" And they pick up my hand, but there's no band on my hand because I didn't come in through the regular Kabbalah, so I have no band. They don't know who I am. Okay, we can't be metapel. We have to first go get you a band because we don't know who you are. So they went, and then half hour later they came back. They put a band on my hand, and then starts the routine. By the way, anybody who ever was in a hospital or ever will be in a hospital, and no one should ever be in a hospital ever. But if for good reasons you have to be in a hospital, every single day, at least 3 to 4 times a day, they have to make sure your blood pressure and all your vitals, your temperature and everything, they come around. But one of the things that you need to do for corona is to rest up. But in the hospital, they don't let you rest because every few minutes, we got to give you this, we got to do this, we got to help you with this, we got to do. Ein ma lasot. Bekitzer, so they dumped me over there, and the nurses came and they put on the band and they took my vitals. Oh, Hashem, I was okay. They put on the thing to check my oxygen levels, and lo and behold, it's 96. So they're like, "What are you doing here?" I said, "Ask the doctor." I don't want to be here. Okay, but the doctor said that you should be here. Let's say this, so you're here. We'll check it out. The next day. That night, we made it through the night somehow. That night, the next day they come, and this big clunking machine, they come in with this big clunky machine, because a corona patient is not allowed to leave the ward, they have to take an x-ray. So they came with a big x-ray machine, they come into your room to take the x-ray. So they came in and they took an x-ray, and until today I still don't know exactly what the x-rays said, because it was highly classified information. Only the doctor who saw it is allowed to know what it said. If anybody else knows about it, it could be a death sentence, chas v'shalom, for somebody who finds out what their X-ray says. It's sodi biyoter. צילום חזה סודי ביותר. הם לא אמרו לי שזה סודי ביותר. לא רצו להגיד לי. So, but what they did tell me was that because of the tzilum chazeh, I need to stay in the hospital. Okay. Thursday I was there. Not much happened other than the fact that the doctor came to visit me. I said, "Why didn't you give me antibiotics? The big thing in America is as soon as you get corona, take antibiotics." He said, we don't do anything with myths. If it says it in the books, we do it. In the corona books, they haven't yet put in, give antibiotics. So they don't give antibiotics. Finished. Done. Oh, and another thing that they do, by the way, is at least once a day they come to take blood. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu benched me for some reason with arms that's very hard to find the veins. Very hard to find the veins. They're punching me. They're squeezing. Make a fist. I had no energy to even close my hand, but they're like, make a fist. Like, oh, okay, again. And they still can't find it. They're poking inside and everything. Klum. Anyways, I Baruch Hashem, Thursday night, whatever, okay, Friday morning comes, and I thought I was going to be there for 2 days. I thought I was going to the hospital for 2 days. They just want to check how I'm doing. They come again with that clunky x-ray machine. They take another x-ray. I call up the doctor like 2 hours before Shabbos, and I say to the doctor, Dr. Munter, I call him up and I say to him, "Listen here, since I came to this hospital, the service is horrible. I don't see any nurses. I don't see any doctors. There's nothing going on. I don't even know if they know that I'm here. The way it works is it's a 3-bed room. You come into the room, there's 1 bed. And then there's another bed, and I was in the 3rd bed. Now, why didn't the nurses know that I'm there? Because my mazel had it that the guy in the 1st bed was an 80-year-old man who, Baruch Hashem, needed the bathroom every hour. And not only did he need the bathroom every hour, he needed to let the entire ward know that he needed the bathroom every hour. And he was screaming on the top of his lungs. Now, the nurses, Baruch Hashem, they make them work until they have absolutely no more koyach. They don't necessarily have time to come take every single person to the bathroom. So They didn't come. And he would scream, למה לא מגיעים? למה לא מגיעים? מה קורה פה? אף אחד זה שירות גרוע. He was mamish screaming on the top of his lungs. On the hour. Next to him, I was able to have a ben dod. If anybody knows what that means. And every time the 80-year-old man would start screaming that he needs to go to the bathroom, he would start going, Yalla! Bekitzer, they never looked at my bed. Never. They never came in, Pasha, to my bed. And when they did come into my bed, it was just to take my vitals. And I didn't even have a chance to say anything. So I said to the doctor, let me go. What am I doing here? Let me go. He says, listen, based on the x-ray that you just got back, the results, you need to be here until after Shabbos. I said, but I have oxygen at home. I have a wife who's taking care of me at home. The service at home is much better than here. They don't even know I'm here. He says, the fact that they don't know you're here in the hospital is a good thing. Because if they would know that you're here, that would be a bad sign. Because that means that they have to be metapel in you. I said, it's a good teretz for a doctor who needs to try to convince me to stay in the hospital. But it really isn't such a good teretz for if I need, you know what I'm saying? If I need things, okay, ema lasot. At that point also, I was basically confined to my room. I couldn't really do much. I was mamish in my room. I was so schwach, I couldn't leave my bed. And now, Rabbi Sai, here comes the moment. I'm getting schwacher and schwacher as Friday goes on. I'm getting more and more schwach without even realizing it. Like every once in a while, when the nurse finally made it into my room, she would ask me, "No, how's your breathing?" And I'd be fine. I'm okay. And I had an oxygen thing in my nose. I'm like, I'm okay. And they switched me like on Friday morning from the regular oxygen machine to a machine called the OptiFlow. OptiFlow is a very, very heavy machine. It's plugged into the wall. It works with electricity. And it can go very high. That works percentages. It can go up to 100%. And then afterwards is a respirator. Now, by the time Shabbos came in, Simchas Torah by night, I was at 50%. And I was feeling horrible. I was just schwach, yucky, ill. Like I just didn't know where to put myself. I said to the nurse that finally made it to my room, I said, I'm feeling horrible. Could you please do something for me? Give me a medication. Give me something to pop in my mouth and everything will go away. I want to feel better. So she said, I'll speak to the doctor. She goes to the doctor. I don't know who the doctor is because, as you all know from pictures that you may have seen around, when you come into the Corona ward, everyone is dressed in white. They think it's Yom Kippur. They're all year round. They come in dressed in white from head to toe. All you see is their eyes. That's all you get to see is their eyes. And this doctor comes in and he says to me, "Ma baya?" I said, "Pashut ani margish ra. Efshar latet li mashu shani yachol largish yoter tov." He looked at my numbers, which at that point I don't think I was able to see because I was sitting with my back to him. He looked at my numbers and he looks at me and he goes over to this OptiFlow machine and he yanks it from 50% to 90%. And he says to me the following line, which I probably will never forget for the rest of my life. שתדע שאחרי המכונה הזאתי זה הנשמה. ואני ראיתי במו עיניי כמה וכמה אנשים שהיו על ההנשמה ולא ירד מזה. תתחזק. And he gives me a pat on my shoulder and he runs and he walks out. I never got a better Musar Shmuz in my life. Never in my life did I get a better Musar Shmuz. The best part of this Musar Shmuz, Rabbi Yisai, was that a second he left my room, I said to myself, Rabbi Yisai, this is it. Ashamnu, Bagadnu, Gazalnu. I started going through Vidui. And I started thinking to myself where I wanted to be buried. And I started thinking to myself which Chevra Kadisha I was going to use. If it's the guy with the white hair which is yellow around the lips, or the other, all the different Chevra Kadisha. I mamish had it all worked out. I was getting ready to meet my father. Hareini Kaparas Mishkavoy. I had it all worked out in my mind. And to me, time, I was above time. It felt like 5 minutes, but because I didn't have enough oxygen coming to my brain, everything is a fuzz. So by the way, all these facts are also, they may not be 100% true, but they're be'erach. What happened to me? This was where I was holding. And for 5 minutes, I was on that path. Now, I was told that one of the things that makes a person get out of Corona, one of the big things, is your matzav ruach, נכון? אחד הדברים שהבן אדם יכול לצאת מהקורונה זה המצב רוח שלו. אם הוא חושב שהוא גמור, הוא גמור. ואם הוא חושב שהוא יכול לצאת מזה, הוא יכול לצאת מזה. נכון? אמרת לי, נכון. If a person feels like he could do it, he could do it. If he feels like he's finished, he's finished. And at that point, I was finished. So now, after a few minutes, I said to myself, one second. This doesn't sound right. There is no way in the world that I will allow myself to leave this hospital unless I'm alive. Now, versteht sich that if I'm not alive, I can't stop anybody from taking me out of the hospital. But I said, there's no way that I'm getting out of this hospital in any other way. I'm getting out of here alive. I have to. Ein ma lasot. And at that point, I was not even able to take in a breath through my nose. Oh, Baruch Hashem, like now I could do it. Wow, I wasn't able to take in a breath through my nose. And the problem is that the oxygen, I found out later that the doctor said, the oxygen machines, they come in through the nose. And because I couldn't take in the breath through the nose, I wasn't getting the oxygen that I needed into my body. So the machine wasn't even helping me b'chlal. So I decided that's it. I took a breath. The breath went something around that looked a little bit like, Mama, like that, a second in, and like 2.5 seconds out. Maybe a shvarim, but maybe even for a shvarim it was too short. Mamish, in and out. And after every 2 or 3 breaths, I would stop and I would say, Ein oid milvadoi. Ein oid milvadoi. I'm getting out of this hospital. Ein oid milvadoi. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you're the only one who could do anything. You're the only one that can help me. I'm getting out of this. I'm getting out of the hospital. And I would take another few breaths. And I wanted to remind everybody that it was Simchas Torah by night. So now, on one end of the room, there was a guy who was screaming that he needs the bathroom. On the other side of the room, there was a guy who was like, Toiras Hashem temimo. That was about all I could get out of my mouth because I couldn't breathe. And then I would stop again. And then I would say again, Einoin Milvadoi, Einoin Milvadoi. And this went on, I would imagine, for a few hours. I don't know. And I would love to say that, and then I got better, but that's not what happened. From there, it only got worse for the next 2 days. I kept on trying. And then, on Simchas Torah by day, one of the things that I knew was that if I wanted to get out, I had to eat. But I didn't have an appetite. If I can only tell you, Erev Yom Tiv, how could a guy come into Yom Tiv without food? They managed somehow, my family, Baruch Hashem, they should be gebenched. Ad Me'ah Ve'esrim Mitzvah, healthy. They managed to get into my room a pile of food I cannot even tell you, schnitzel, kol minei matamim. I don't even know everything that was in there because I didn't have koyach pasha to look through the bags. But everything that came out, they would give it to me and they'd say, heviu et zelecha. Every 10-15 minutes, then the nurses were looking at me. They wanted to know what was in the bag. But every 10-15 minutes, the guy would come, le b'shvilcha, heviu lecha. I'm like, toda, tosimpo. Tosimpo. Say that, I didn't have any koyach. Shabbos afternoon, they brought in the Yom Tov meal, the hospital Yom Tov meal, some sort of stuffed chicken. It looked like, if you could call it that, or whatever, a stuffed type of piece of chicken. And I didn't even have enough koyach to push it, to cut it, to eat it. The nurse comes into my room and says, "What are you doing? Why don't you eat? Tochal mashu." I'm like, "Any koyach? I don't have koyach to cut it." So this nurse took out a fork and a knife. She started to cut my chicken for me. Mamish, a malach min hashamayim. Because that's one of the things that saved me. I took a little piece, I ate a little piece, and I said, Hashem, this is for you, for Yom Tiv. Because it's Yom Tiv today. I'm eating a piece of chicken because it's Yom Tiv today. And then I would sing Teres Hashem Temimo, all the different, and I was Pashut being jealous of all of my friends that were dancing away in the Yeshiva Smir. And Nebuch, I was on a chair in Keter Hay in the hospital, locked away under lock and key. I'm sure you were. Must have been very quiet. So, this year I was Chosim Torah, Chosim Bereshis, and I got Kol HaNarim also. Right now. Baruch Hashem. So, okay, we got through Yom Tov, and I told the Kodesh Baruch Hu that the Mitzvah Hashem, if I come out, I'm going to give tzedakah. Tzedakah tatzal yimoves. I'm going to give tzedakah. And if I get out, okay. This all happened until Monday. The next 2 days, I don't even remember. We didn't like the x-ray that we saw. We want you to be next to heavier machinery. So we're sending you next to the ICU. Don't worry, it's not the ICU. It's right next to the ICU. But we're sending you there, and they're going to come and they're going to take you. Before I know it, this big burly guy comes in with a wheelchair, together with 2 nurses. The 2 nurses come in, and you could tell that the situation is of a little bit of an emergency type of situation. One nurse comes in and she's wheeling in one of these big, huge, massive, portable oxygen tanks. That was one. And the other nurse came in and she was supposed to take my stuff. Now I don't know if you remember, but I had a huge pile of schnitzel and kugel and all these other yummy stuff that they sent me for Yom Tov I couldn't even eat. So I said to the nurse, listen here, you have 2 options. Either you could schlep all of this with you, or if you want, you can go through it you can go through it, and I'll tell you what to keep and what to throw out. So the 2 nurses look at each other, and one nurse is like, sure, let's go. And the other nurse is like, don't worry about it, it'll take us 2 minutes, I called Beseder. So they decided they're going to go through it. They went through it, and they took out what I needed, and then the guy is like, Teshef po. I'm like, okay. I move into the chair, into the wheelchair, and I start this burly guy, and then this other nurse that's walking next to me with the chamtzan, and the other one is schlepping my stuff. We go into that back elevator that I told you about, and they take me down to, I think it was the 2nd floor. Keter Gimel, I think, is on the 2nd floor, the same floor as the emergency room. And Rabbi say, here it starts. I come down the stairs, I come out of there, and I felt like a VIP. The entire hallway, the entire walkway from where the elevator came out until the corona ward had security guards at each intersection standing there with their gun as if the most wanted terrorist or president of the United States is coming through. And they're like running with me as if I don't know what, running down the hallway, and this guy and I hear the slicha, al tavo po, ze makom mesukan, corona, whoa, corona, and everybody's looking to see who is this Nebuchadnezzar guy who's being schlepped in a wheelchair, and the kids they bring me to Keter Gimel, I think it was Gimel Echad, Gimel Shtayim, למעלה, אבל גימל אחד זה ההנשמה, זה גימל אחד? כתר גימל. אבל יש 3 חלקים, זה כתר א'. Anyways, they brought me into the place where there's hanshama. At that point, I wasn't even sure. They come in, and they're running, and they're like, okay, where's his bed? Evo lasim oto? And they're like, me. Like, Morgan, Yaakov Zvi, me? And the guy, the security guard, he starts saying, oh, ani sonet hashananut azoti, ani sonet hashananut. Like this laziness. I hate this laziness. Because I found out that where I was standing at that moment was the ICU. But I needed to be next to the ICU. In the ICU, every person gets their own bedroom. In the ward next to the ICU, it's 2 people per room. Okay, so the nurse goes running down, because again, I have to be attached to the wall. I have to be attached with this thing to the wall. And they were on with a portable machine. And the whole time, I'm thinking to myself, if I don't get next to a wall soon, I'm probably just going to, on the floor right over here, that's it, it's over. Because I have no oxygen. But they had to do what they had to do, yeah? Kids, so they come, they run to the other ward. 2 minutes later, they come running back, and they say, okay, come. They take me to the other end of the ward, and lo and behold, there's somebody in my bed. What am I supposed to do? Okay. So Baruch Hashem, they come, and they schlep out this guy, his bed, him in the bed, and his, they give you a little cart that you can put your stuff into. They schlep him out, and then they bring me into this empty room. Again, I was on an OptiFlow that has to be plugged into the machine. the OptiFlow, they by mistake forgot in Keter Hay on the 8th floor. And me, they left with this plain Pashut machine, this oxygen, that again, I didn't know if I was going to make over the next 5 minutes. But this is what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted. I stayed like that. I was breathing, and we're trying the best that I could. Baruch Hashem, I didn't feel life-threatened at that moment. At that moment, I didn't feel life-threatened. I didn't even know why I was there, b'chol. The guy in the bed next to me was on a respirator. The entire ward, everybody in that ward was on the respirator. I was the only person that was not on a respirator that was able to talk in that ward. Everybody else had pipes going into their mouth and was heavily sedated, not completely out, but heavily sedated. And they told me that if I go to sleep on my stomach, I'm going to feel I'll feel better. So I said, if I go to sleep on my stomach, I'm afraid that the pipe is going to come out of my nose. So I said, but I'll tell you what, if you give me a pill to knock me out, like a sleeping pill to take to put me out for the night, I'm fine. So they gave me a sleeping pill. I got into bed at 12 o'clock at night. I took a sleeping pill. The last time I checked at home, when you take a sleeping pill, you should be able to sleep for like 10 hours. 4 o'clock in the morning, a nurse comes into my room, and he wakes me up and he says, אני לא מבין, אתה פה כבר 4 ימים, ולא לקחת EKG? Huh? You didn't take an EKG yet? How's that possible? I'm like, what do you want from me? Right now, EKG. They flip me over, and they put these things all over. I fell back asleep. I don't know. The next thing I know, all I feel is they're like ripping these pieces off of me from the EKG, and I'm like, Baruch Hashem. I think that the EKG came back okay. I think so. In the meantime, I'm in this ward. The morning comes. An hour later, the next nurse comes in. Can we take your vitals? Can you take? I'm like, close up. I'm out of bed. That's it. Finished. I go and I sit back in my chair, my good old chair I was sitting in the whole time. I sat down in my chair, and I was waiting to see what happened. Kitzer, the nurse comes in a little while later, and she's like, "Here's your medicine for today." I'm like, oh, hold on a second. These pills that you're giving me right now look exactly like the pills that I took last night, and the night before, and the night before. So why are you giving it to me now in the morning? She's like, oh, let me go check it out. She runs out to go check it out, and she comes back in a minute later, and she says, yeah, you know what? You're right. You're supposed to be taking them at night, but the hospital decided when you moved into this ward, for some reason, these pills keep you up at night. So we want you to start taking it in the morning. So now, right now, you're starting to take it in the morning. So I said, okay, starting to take it in the morning. So I started to take it. And I said to this nurse, I'm like, by the way, slicha shani mitarev. That's not nice. I'm telling you what to do. She's like, Ma? Are you a Beseder? You're the only one who's talking to me in the whole ward. Whatever you want. Tea, coffee, cake, I'll get you whatever you want. Baruch Hashem. So, that morning is the morning that Baruch Hashem, that morning was Tuesday morning, is the morning that I felt a very, very big difference. I only found out later, Lamaisa, that the x-rays that they wanted to keep sodi, maybe it was only from me, but the x-rays that they wanted to keep secret, top secret, and he told me afterwards, the doctor told me, well, I should stop tell you so that you should be nervous. I had a horrible, horrible case of pneumonia, and the numbers of the oxygen levels and the picture in the x-ray just weren't meeting up. That's what he didn't understand. The doctors, I guess there were certain doctors that didn't understand how to read the x-ray, and they said to this Dr. Mutter, they're like, I don't understand why you're keeping him in the ward. There's no reason for him to be here. He says, what do you mean? Keep him here with the way his x-rays look. If he's here for 4 more days and his numbers stay the same, then we'll see he's okay. Now there's one, I just remember now that there was one part of the story that I skipped. Sunday morning, I forgot Sunday morning. You see, I told you my mind wasn't working. See, Sunday morning, the doctor who had told me that they only do things by the book comes bouncing into my room, and he's like, guess what? I'm like, what? You have corona. I'm like, you're serious. He's like, no, I'm telling you, listen, just now, Today came out 2 papers, research papers, the top research papers in the whole world, came out that there's a new medicine. And if you take this medication, it shortens the amount of time that you have to stay in the hospital, which that I didn't see. And it also shortens, it makes less the amount of people that die from corona. And it's a very expensive medicine. I'm like, thank you very much. Should we start going around Zirchan Moshe? Shtibach Beis Yisrael? It's a very expensive medicine. But, being that we're in a socialist country, it's free. But they had to fight very hard for me to be able to get it. I guess that wasn't on the criteria. The fact that I am a high risk factor. Baruch Hashem, I'm healthy otherwise, but they say that for some reason the corona likes zaftige people. So Baruch Hashem, I found that I had a good place to go to. So they said, you can get this medication. It's called Remdesivir. Only me and Trump got it. That's the only 2 people in the world that ever got this medication. And I'm just joking, there were other people in the world that also got this Remdesivir. Because once it's okay to give it, they give it to everybody. So, the only problem is that I wasn't yet hooked up to any IV. Because every doctor that came in to take my blood, they couldn't find it, right? They couldn't find my blood. There was even one time a doctor came in to take blood from me, and he's looking at my veins, and he's trying, can't find it. He's like, you know that if they can't find veins in the hand, they try to find them in the feet. He made me pick my foot up on the bed, and he tied that blue ribbon around, and he starts punching my feet. Over there, I couldn't make a muscle with my foot. There was nothing I could do with it. But Baruch Hashem, he ended up finding a vein over there, and he stuck the needle into my foot. If I thought I was only going to come home with bruises and badges over here on my hands, I also got it on my foot. Baruch Hashem, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, every single prat and detail was figured out to the last second. So we're getting towards the end. So then, this is a 5-day medication, Remdesivir. So I knew for sure that I had to be in the hospital until Thursday. This was Sunday. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Okay, Thursday. So now, we're back to Tuesday. And Baruch Hashem, I was feeling good. On Tuesday, I was getting better and stronger. I made a few phone calls that day. I was very horrible with the phone. I wasn't taking many phone calls. On Wednesday, the nurses come into my room again, all excited, and they're like, we're changing your room. I'm like, what? I like it here. I got so much attention because I was the only one awake. Like, no, we got to move you again. I'm like, no, where are you moving me to? Don't worry, the place that we're moving you to, only people that are in good health get to go over there. I'm like, oh, okay, fine. If you want to move me there, let's stay there. I actually did get upgraded from a 2-room to a bed. I was in a room with only 1 bed. I was like, but it wasn't the ICU. But I was in a room with only 1 bed in it. I was finally zeicha to a room with only 1 bed. I can make a ruckus as much as I wanted, and I can do whatever I wanted, and nobody can bother me. And, and they started to lower the OptiFlow. They started to lower the OptiFlow, and they're lowering the OptiFlow, and then finally they get to 20%, and after 20% they say, okay, fine, we can put you onto the regular oxygen. And they put me onto the regular oxygen. And they put me on the regular oxygen, and for some reason, I'm still, till today, I'm trying to figure out, until today, I'm still trying to figure out why. But very slowly, they went down from 7 liters per hour to 6 liters per hour. Every like half a day or so, they would come and they would bring it down a little bit. And at one point I said to the nurse, one of the nurses that came in, I'm like, I don't understand. What are you keeping me here for? Can't you send me home? I have an oxygen tank at home. I have, my wife will take care of me. What are you keeping me here? It's, why? For what reason? And he said to me, you think we want to keep you here? You know how many people are trying to get into this ward? But we need to watch over you. Mind you, there were 5 empty beds when he told me that. Yeah? But people are waiting to get into the ward. And finally, they're going down, they went down. Finally, Erev Shabbos, it's by 1.5 liters per hour. 1.5 liters per hour. I said to myself, or maybe I said it to my wife, I don't remember, I said, if they put this thing any lower, I'm going to have to blow oxygen into the machine. What kind of business is this? But they had to make sure that I was okay before they could send me home. I called up Dr. Munter, Erev Shabbos, and I'm like, can I please go home again now? He says, no, we have to take it to Kedai for you to stay till after Shabbos. I said, okay, fine, I'll stay till after Shabbos. HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants me to endure a certain amount, and I'm going to endure it until the last detail. And I'll be there exactly how much I have to be there for. It's part of it. Ein ma lasot. So I said, okay. I stayed for Shabbos. A Shabbos of Hisroimamus. And the whole time I'm still on this oxygen at 1.5 liters per hour. Shabbos afternoon, the nurse comes into my thing at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And I'm still, I forgot, Friday night, I had to make Kiddush Friday night. All right, I had to make Kiddush before we eat the Suda. For some reason, when it becomes Shabbos, all the nurses in the hospital become B'nai Dodim, from the Arab sector. All of them are Arabs. So I said to the Arab, he happened to be, look, he said, it said Ach instead of Achotz. I knew he was a man. I said, Efo Kiddush? It was funny because I saw somebody else walking down the aisle who didn't look like he was such a Shomer Torah Mitzvahs, but that's how he was dressed. And he says to the nurse, he's like, Hamayim HaHamim, it's on the Pikud Shabbat. So the guy says, Ken Shabbat. He had no clue what he's talking about. There was no Shabbos moon or nothing. But Ken Shabbat. So I said, you have Kiddush for me. Tirosh. Ani olech le'avi lecha tirosh me'mahlaka shniya. I said, okay. So he went to go to the mahlaka shniya. He brought it back. He forgot to tell me that he brought it. He just put it in the kitchen. 8 o'clock at night when Shabbos comes in at 5:30. Finally at 8 o'clock I decided, okay, I'm going to go check. So I went to the kitchen. I found there was Baruch Hashem a bottle of grape juice waiting for me. I thought Eliyahu Navi probably brought it there. I made Baruch Hashem, I made Kiddush and I had a Suda. The next day, 3:30 in the afternoon, the guy, the same nurse who told me that everyone's waiting to come into the ward. I said to him, I'm still on the oxygen. Can you do something for me? So he says to me, okay, try to take it off. I said, okay, I'll try to take it off. I took it off, and Baruch Hashem, my numbers stayed up. They were okay, and I was doing fine. I was walking around, and I was, I made Havdalah for the whole ward, the whole ward, all 6 people that were able to come out of their rooms, they came out for Havdalah, and Baruch Hashem, I made Havdalah, and then Shabbos is over. So I said to that nurse, I said to him, now I had spoken in the morning with a doctor, a lady doctor, who happened to be of American culture. The only way I knew that she was of American culture is because when I asked her something, she's like, Ani ratziti la'agid lecha sheha. So I said, I knew that she was American. I said, by the way, when can I get out? And I don't remember what she answered me. She did. She told me, she gave me an answer. So I asked the nurse, I said, it's Motzei Shabbos. Can I get out? I waited till after Shabbos. I can get out now? They're like, no, I think you have to wait till tomorrow. Why do I have to wait for tomorrow now? I want to go out now. I have to another night in the hospital. Enough already. Die. Now, I can't even tell you how many people I told that I have oxygen tank at home. I had an oxygen machine from Yad Sarah at home. So I said, I have an oxygen tank at home. I'm going to call the doctor. He goes to call the doctor, and he comes back to me 5 minutes later with a message from the doctor. The doctor said that you should tell him, Ulai ata yachol liskor ma amarti lo hayom baboker. I'm like, I'm sorry, but I failed memory class. I don't remember. Kitzer, she's not letting me out. Why? I found out later, she's not letting me out. She needs a Rofei Bachir to come in and to sign the paper for me to go out. And Rofei Bachir, you cannot find in the hospital on Motzei Shabbos. They only come in Sunday morning. So okay, they come in Sunday morning. Sunday morning, the Rofei Bachir comes in and says to me, okay, so I just ordered for you chamtzan. I ordered for you a machine. When the machine gets to your house, we'll call you an ambulance and then you can go. So I'm like, okay, thank you. That means that I'm already one more step closer to getting out of the hospital. I was so excited. This is Sunday morning at 10 o'clock in the morning. Baruch Hashem. That's when the Rofei Bachir comes. So they said, okay, you'll be able to go. So I said, okay. A few minutes later, the the head nurse of that machlaka, which happened to be is a frum lady who her husband learns in the Mir Yeshiva, and I found out afterwards that she got harassed by many different people in the Mir Yeshiva to make sure to take care of me. But this was the first time that I was able to see her, and she comes in and she says, "Okay, I'm so and so." I'm like, "Oh, thank you so much for everything. I heard a lot about you, and I appreciate it, and whatever." And then she says, "Oh, we need your bed. You have to move." Okay, I said, "The only place I'm moving from here is out. I'm home. From here I go home." No. You have to wait, whatever. And then she says to me, "One second. Don't you have a oxygen machine at home?" I'm like, "Wait, Shalom Aleichem. It's a good thing you know. Like, hello? What's going on?" So she says to the doctor, she's like, "Yesh doch hamtzan babayit." "Oh, yesh doch hamtzan babayit? As lama hu po? Hu yachol alechet?" I'm like, "Okay." So now I have to wait now to get an ambulance, because you have to go home either by ambulance or somebody who had corona. So I said, "Okay, I have to wait for an ambulance." They tell me, "An ambulance, you ordered an ambulance now, it should be here within the next 3 to 4 hours." Right? Maybe they were coming from Eilat or something, but within the next 3-4 hours, there should be an ambulance. But they need a bed. So there's another corona ward that I didn't know. There's Keter Hey, and then there's Keter Gimel, and there's all these different types of things. And then there's an Ohel. Evanu from the Keter Gimel to the Ohel. Now, a guy who has corona is not allowed to leave the ward. He's not allowed to leave. And there was the guy in Nebuch, he broke his foot. So they had to bring in a guy to come and give him a cast in the ward. And they did it in the Ohel. So I come in the Ohel and there's plaster all over the place. Because the guy is used to doing it in his office and making a mess in his office. Here he didn't have an office, he made a mess in the Ohel. There's a huge mess. Anyways, they take me there to sit. Oh, there's one other thing that I forgot. I always thought that Shari Tzedek was a frum hospital. I was zoicha that on Thursday afternoon, I got a meal from the hospital, and it was 2 geschmacka pieces of schnitzel. Thursday afternoon, 2 geschmacka pieces of schnitzel. And then they brought me my meal on Shabbos afternoon, and I opened it up. I'm like so excited because my wife had it in with the cook in the kitchen, and ever since she spoke to them, they added in a whole bunch of extra stuff to my meal, all 3 meals. So I Baruch Hashem got extra stuff. So then, what do I get Shabbos morning? I'm waiting for like a geschmacka hisa kegel, some cholent, something, and Shari Tzedek. 2 pieces of corn schnitzel. And by the way, if anybody from Shari Tzedek hears this video, you should know that it's an avla to give corn schnitzel to people that have corona in the hospital. Stam. Then they move me into the oil and they bring me the food. But they didn't bring me my meal, they brought me the hospital meal. They give you like a whole cucumber. They're afraid to touch the vegetables. So they give you a whole cucumber, a whole tomato, a pepper, and the thing, and then they give you a piece of chicken, whatever it was. I'm like, I'll wait till I get home to eat. Thank you very much, And then the nurse from the ward, she comes running out and she says to me, "Oh, I have your meal." I'm like, "Oh, thank you very much." I take the meal, I open it up, Sunday afternoon, 2 huge pieces of schnitzel. I'm like, "Couldn't you arrange this yesterday?" Nah. And then Baruch Hashem, I found out that somebody who had corona could pick me up. And so Mu'chedet, in the hospital, they called me up because they were the ones who were supposed to bring me the oxygen. And they're like, "Okay, so where do you live exactly? Because we have to bring you the oxygen." I'm like, "Bring me oxygen. I have an oxygen tank at home." "Oh, you have an oxygen tank at home? So you can wait till tomorrow to get it?" I'm like, "Yeah, I can wait until tomorrow to get it." "Oh, okay." And I'm already waiting for an hour and a half for the ambulance to come. Because they told me the ambulance is going to come. "Oh, okay, so let me mevatel the hazmana, and now I have to order you an ambulance. It could take up to 3-4 hours for it to come." I'm like, "Okay." They lock you up until the last possible moment. They're not going to let you out. Okay, so Beseder, I have to wait until the ambulance comes, and then I found out that somebody who had corona could take me. And Baruch Hashem, we used our ksharim. Uri Stern managed to arrange that Shami Pollack should be zeicha to have the schus of taking me out of the jail cell that I was locked in, and I was zeicha to come out and to feel a tremendous amount of akar satoiv of Baruch Mater Asurim, number 1, because I was finally out of the hospital, and number 2, I was able to say Baruch Hoifei Cholim and Baruch Mechaya Mesim, because I really felt at that one point in time that I was closer to there than I was to here. Maybe it really wasn't such a reality, but that's what I felt. And man noimar, man nedaber. What can I say? The fact that I'm standing here today and that I'm able to talk and that I have the koiches and that HaKadosh Baruch Hu every day gives me a little bit more and a little bit more koiches. When Rabbi Frati came to visit me right after I came home from the hospital, so he says, "Oh, now that you're better, and you came back from whatever," I said, "I felt like I was born again." So he says, "Oh, now that you feel like you were born again, you have to have a new education." Born again? I said, "Okay, fine. If you're my Rebbe, I'll take a new education." So now, one thing that stuck out for me before I end is in the hospital, is I came into this Keter Gimel. And it was a strictly peculiar to me to find that they decided to use pink linen on the beds. I'm like, okay, they ran out of the blue ones, so they put on pink. I come a little closer, and on the bed it says, Merkaz Hayilud Ha'isha V'Hayilud. The Corona ward, Baruch Hashem, they ran out of blue ones for the Corona ward. They decided to use from the maternity ward. And I said, Baruch Hashem, because I mamish felt like I was born again. The best part of the whole thing was that I saw this elderly yid, chashuva looking yid with a long white beard, and he was also in the Corona ward. And there's a chaval that I didn't have a camera because Lamaisa, he was wearing pink maternity pajamas. This ain't I racy. And Lamaisa, nobody, I can't say that I have edus because nobody else is allowed to see it because you're not allowed to go in. But Baruch Hashem, I was able to see it. And Baruch Hashem, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave me life again, and I appreciate again that every single one of you came, and I appreciate that every single one of you managed, whoever's here, don't turn the camera around, whoever's here, because I'm speaking to myself, anyone who's here, Baruch Hashem, I appreciate that you came, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu should bench each and every one of you, that you should be healthy and well and gesund until 120, and Hashem, I give a bracha to the ganze Welt, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu should take away this magefa from us, legamre, and everybody should be 100% healthy, and we should be zoicha to be as goyel tzedek, v'mheiro b'yameinu amen. Shkoya. Brachi, I think we should bring out